Hello and welcome to another episode of the Root and the Wound podcast, the podcast where we get to the root of our patterns and our symptoms.
Today, we're going to be exploring a general topic of what even is therapy.
Right. It's going to be a fun one. My name is Trevor. I'm an individual therapist as well as a couples therapist.
And I'm Paula. I also work with individuals and couples. And today, I'm very excited to pick your brain, Trevor, about your therapy modalities, what you're working on lately, and how both of us feel like therapy is ever changing. And as therapists, we even change our definition of what it is that we do with clients. So,
100%.
yeah, would you like to start by my quenching my curiosity about this new modality you're learning about?
Of course. Yeah, let's start there. Um yeah, so a little bit of background. Maybe some of the listeners know. We've both been therapists for 8 years. When did we graduate? 2018. So 8 years.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. I remember in school, in graduate school, a teacher saying it's going to take you at least 10 years to have any idea what you're doing as a therapist. Uh, so I feel, especially in these first 8 years of this work, the way that I approach it and understand it has undergone various transformations. And so the way that I think about therapy now is a little bit different from what it was a year or two ago, or certainly like 5 or 6 years ago. The way I show up as a therapist is different. Um, so the I'm happy to talk about the new type of therapy that I've been training in. It's called
Mhm.
ISTDP. Before I do though, is your experience at all like mine, or is it different
Yeah, I
from
actually
mine?
want
And
to ask you
yeah,
more of what you just shared. You
yeah.
said it's changed even a year ago. Can you share a little bit about what you used to think of as therapy and where you currently are now?
Yeah, where I currently am is I'll start there and then I'll try to pinpoint where I might have been in the past. Where I currently am is I'm understanding how important it is to be able to call attention to a client's, I'll call them defensive behaviors or survival strategies, just the things that they do that exist outside of their awareness that actually get in the way of the goals that they have for themselves. And in many cases, prolong the painful patterns or the painful symptoms that they're currently coming up against. And to be able to, A, see what those are as the therapist, but B, call attention to them in a way that allows the client to see them, like in a way that the client themselves feels loved and supported. But at the same time, I'm being confrontational because I'm calling them out. I'm calling their attention to something that is literally painful for them to look at. Like that, there's such an art and a skill there. And I think that in the past, I may have known that conceptually on some level, but I think I just erred far more on the side of the more humanistic or Rogerian style of therapy of unconditional positive regard. I'm not leaving that behind at all, but I feel like I'm just balancing it out with healthy confrontation against the maladaptive aspects of the client such that they can see and overcome them. And it speeds up the therapy, and the therapy feels like more dynamic and more alive, sometimes more intense. Um,
Mm.
am I doing a decent job at answering?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually, since we went to the same school, I don't remember what professor it was, but there was also a very like formative moment. God, I really wish it was formative in the information who gave it, I guess wasn't formative to me, but it was like 80% of you are just gonna waste your client's time. 10% of you will actually help people and 10% of you will hurt people. And
Dewey,
I think,
Dewey Freeman.
was it Dewey? Okay, someone, I don't remember. Were we in that class together? Anyways, so it was a class that I remember hitting that statistic and being like, wow. And I think what you just shared about the positive regard is kind of that wasting time sessions, right? Like, I do very much upfront tell my clients that that's not how I would work with them, right? That like working with me is very confrontational and I don't waste time. Similar to our podcast, even the name we chose is like getting to the root. I like to go straight for the gut, like gut people open and let's look like at this ugly stuff, you know?
Mhm.
And obviously trauma informed. I'm not like just
Mhm.
without anesthesia going in there. But I really don't value anymore just the positive regard. More passive, I guess would be the word that I would relate to that, of just listening to our clients and reflecting back what they're sharing and like doing that slower process of letting them get to a place on their own because I think that blind spots are blind spots for a reason. And we need some form of mirror to be able to see that, right?
Yeah.
It's like that I feel like is our job as a therapist is to be the mirror that looks at the corners that they don't want to see.
I really love that way of conceptualizing it. Like you go for the gut, you break it open, but not without anesthesia. And
Mhm.
that anesthesia is the piece where there's a therapeutic alliance that's in place. There's the sense that the therapist, myself, really genuinely deeply cares for my client, that I do experience unconditional positive regard. And having formed that healthy, conscious therapeutic alliance, that then we take off. Then we do the digging. So I think with not without anesthesia is a really wonderful way of framing that.
Yeah, and you said it beautifully, like perhaps the anesthesia we give clients to do that really hard work is the therapeutic relationship, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that's foundational. Like
Mhm.
when people are seeking a therapist, I always say even the compatibility that we do in those consultation calls, or at least for me, it's like it's to make sure that this person is going to feel comfortable with me,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
also me as a therapist comfortable with what they're bringing in because it's important that I also will be able to hold everything this client is bringing in. Or else I will sometimes say, like, hey, I don't know if I'm the best fit for you. Let me
Nice.
help you find someone else because of that very vital relationship, right? To our client to be able to hold them in their entirety with like complete positive regard. What do you think about that? Like, do you notice that as well? So that it's a two-way street to create that anesthesia?
Oh, for sure, for sure. And yes, there are some people that I'm just not going to be the best fit for. That's honestly, that's been another like learning curve for me. I think that in my novice years, I put a pressure on myself to be the best fit for anybody so that anybody who comes to me, I find a way to help them. And maybe I had to go through some of those waters to realize, like, oh, wait, some of the time it's just not the right therapeutic relationship. And some of the time they don't even know that, but I know that. And I have to be the one also to help us take a look at that and call attention to it. So, yeah, I do think of it
Hmm.
as a two-way street. Um, Maybe I'll answer your question about the modality now. Does that feel?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So,
That feels great.
so I have from couples therapy, the primary modality I've been employing is called relational life therapy, RLT. And individual therapy, I'm currently training in a modality called ISTDP, intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy. And there's a lot of overlap in these models, although they may not even know of one another. Like they come from different places, but there's certain elements that mirror one another. I'll stick with the ISTDP for a moment. The basic, I suppose, the underlying theory is that we have, all of us, unconscious feelings inside of us that we have learned uh, the hard way in childhood that it's not safe to have a relationship with. That to feel this feeling and express this feeling is going to put a wedge between me and my caregivers, that it's going to get in the way of this relationship that I need for my literal survival. So I have to, as this little being, find a way to deny, to do away with, push away these feelings that are acceptable. What happens in life as an adult, life inevitably triggers said feelings. That happens unconsciously. And then I get anxious because this unconscious repressed feeling material is threatening to come up. And so anxiety comes online. I may not be aware of that either. This is all unconscious. And then I go over to unconscious defenses, the things that the
Mhm.
moves that I make internally and interpersonally to both try to calm down my anxiety, but also try to further distance myself from my feelings. And so the view in ISTDP is that insofar as we can help people deeply experience the feelings they've dedicated their lives to avoiding, we'll help them overcome their suffering, will help them overcome their painful patterns. They'll use those feelings to inform adaptive behaviors congruent with life circumstances. And they won't need to do these neurotic defensive behaviors anymore of getting away from feelings because they will have fully felt them and been with them. That's the
That's
nutshell.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That, yeah, it's beautiful. It's a great, I mean, I loved what you said about the like the dedication to like avoiding, right? Like how a lot of survival is like a dedication to avoiding those feelings. And this therapy work, right? I think you said it really well that so many modalities have a similar framework. We use different language for it, but so much of it, I agree that that is such a foundational part of healing. And similar to what you said about your changed perspective as a therapist is exactly that, right? Like instead of just listening to what's here, it's going right under there to that part
Yes.
that is in the silence, right? The part that's like been siloed out of the being to
Yeah.
survive, right?
Yeah.
Really cool. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of what we might unknowingly end up listening to is like the anxiety, the voice of anxiety or the voice of the defense. And then
Hmm.
the client is doing it's their anxiety is running the show or their defenses are, but nobody's calling that out or paying attention to the client underneath the anxiety, underneath the defense. And that's where we can come in and really give them the gift of
Hmm.
wanting to deeply understand the part of them that they learn to not bring into relationship. And so we help them formulate a relationship with that part, and we invite and guide and support and challenge all the mechanisms by which they continue to keep themselves at a distance.
That's this maybe will take our conversation, but we're organic of a little different. How do you turn that off now that you see underneath the surface because of the work we do?
Uh-huh.
How do you turn that off in your interpersonal relationships?
My defensive maneuvers, is that what
No,
you're asking? Oh.
the seeing
Oh.
beneath the surface. Like I have found
Oh.
similarly in my career development, this keen eye for like kind of what you shared, right? The person beneath the surface. And I find that to be the most beautiful thing about being a therapist. I love the honor it is to see a true self that has been hiding and alone for all these years, right? Like this like basically little inner
Yeah.
child, if we want to use that language, and
Yeah.
to be the person that gets to be in relationship to that vulnerable part. But I have found it interesting that it's like almost impossible now for me to have surface relationships in my own
Mm.
personal life because of this keen eye for the depth. But in real life, people aren't hiring us to help them uncover this. They don't want that
Totally.
uncovered.
Totally. And are
So,
you
can I
saying
ask you a personal question on do you have a hard time with that as well? Like where you see the underneath? and you want to kind of call attention to it, but in personal relationships, that's
I
a
don't.
different
I
you
don't. No. For
you
whatever
don't know
reason.
how to turn it off.
No, no, I don't. I don't. I'm not aware of struggling with like with having difficulty turning it off. Like,
Mhm.
and I'm not. I'm trying now. I'm asking myself. Apparently, we have different experiences there, and I'm wondering why it is for me that I experience, this outside world differently from you. Like some of the times, I really don't know. Like I don't know. You might see it more clearly than me in some cases. That's what I'm wondering. Like, I don't always
Mhm.
see or know, like, what's that true self part that's being avoided by somebody out here. But
Mhm.
I also, I don't think that I'm looking for it. I'm not really looking for it out in
Mm.
the world. For me, when I'm out of the role of therapist, as it were, I really love dancing on the surface, and like just be whatever superficial thing or conversation comes my way.
Mhm.
I kind of delight in, as like a little respite, break from the deeper work. But it sounds like we have different experiences. Is that? Do you agree?
Yeah, totally and possibly not, because then I'm
Hmm.
curious about like we are drawn to each other in friendship, right? Like, yes, we have this
True.
co-working, whatever relationship, but really it's a friendship of depth, right?
Mm, true.
Um, but perhaps the difference is like I do not like I drown in the surface. And so like depth is what I seek. So maybe the difference is I seek it.
Mhm.
And yet I do notice a struggle, just like why therapy is so heavy is
Yeah.
because doing that uncovering work and swimming deep, right, is really taxing. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot for
Yeah.
a nervous system. It's a lot for a brain. Like to just live in our defense structure and our autopilot is so much simpler.
Yes.
And that is why therapy, those sessions can feel, right? It's like a 50-minute session can feel like hours of work, right? And density and heaviness and again, a breath, like when we do grab it and reach the surface, that breath is the most beautiful thing to witness in clients and in the room. But I maybe don't I maybe am addicted to the deep diving because I love it so much that like I don't separate it. It's not like you said, I turn off the therapist.
Hmm.
I feel like how I am is just that way, and that's what makes me a therapist rather than
So
the therapist informs the human, right? Like I just I don't see how to not look under the surface, even without consent, right? Like I enter a relationship with people and I'm like already seeing the depth of what's underneath. They're not asking me to, right? Like my clients are asking me to. And perhaps that's where I'm using the word struggle is like I struggle in the sense of like I don't know how to not look, even if the person is like, no, please just meet
yeah.
me at my mask, you know? And I'm just like, let me take that off.
Let me see the person behind the mask. Meet me
Let
at
me
my
just see
best.
what's
Just a peek, I promise. I
just a
promise.
little.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in interpersonal, like romantic relationships, I think I'm probably more like you. Like a Yeah, like I definitely want to look behind, but that to me, for whatever reason, feels like an appropriate place to want to do it and to do it.
Hmm.
If I'm going to sign up for a romantic relationship, which I have,
Hmm.
I'd
Hmm.
like to know the depths of the person behind it. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But then it almost also feeds like as a therapist, it's like you are so interested in going deep in the sur underneath the surface, right? And there's this reservoir for like yearning for it, right? If in the world you have the respite, you use that word of surface relationships,
Mhm.
right? It's probably, I'm guessing, or I should ask you, like, what does it do for you when you get to deep dive with someone as a therapist?
Interesting. In the role of the therapist, what does it do for me? Interesting. Um, well, it makes me feel useful, and I like that. Like I feel like I'm working, and I like to feel like I'm working. I feel when's in the course of my work with somebody, they come to connect with a part of themselves that they otherwise likely would not have. I feel like a sense of mission accomplished, that the two of us made it somewhere meaningful. And I take like I get good feel, I get energized by it. I get excited by it. I get hopeful about it. Um, that's probably about it, though. I think that's where I enjoy the process. I like getting there. Yeah, and then
But then you just said a beautiful word, right? Like hope. Does does that deep diving with clients bring you hope because of like kind of this modality that you're trained in, right? When you get to that part of self that is hidden, that's been there in the avoidant trying to get away stage, and you bring what is the hope that you see for the human, for the individual, for relationships, for collective?
my hope then would be for the individual. That's what I'm most aware of. Like there's hope here. There's a sign that they can live a life that they really love, that they can really be in touch with themselves and delight in being in touch with themselves, that they don't need to repeat their painful patterns. They don't need to suffer in these ways that are so familiar to them, that they can fall in love with living and the world and achieve certain dreams that they have for each other, for themselves in this case. So I feel hopeful for them being able to uh, live the life that to this point has evaded them, or that they've evaded, however we want to frame that. When it's a couple, then of course, even today, just hope that love will prevail, that love will be able to be enjoyed, and that they won't get caught at the defensive self-protective walls that so many couples end up responding to and directing, and mistaking that for self and other and relationship. And when they go down and there's just open-heartedness meeting open-heartedness, I mean, my heart certainly opens. It's a moment of just profound possibility and sweetness and tenderness, and the rest of it melts away in that moment of connection.
That's so beautifully said. And
Mhm.
it's basically to sum up what you said, I'm hearing like in this modality you practice, how you show up as a therapist, what you get to do as a therapist is that by touching the defended self, we get to live in undefended love, right? We get to
Nice.
live in open love. And that is what hope is, right? Like that was so beautiful.
The way you summarized it too, undefended love. Amen. There we
Yeah.
go. There we go.
Yeah.
That's is that the root?
Mic, mic
Root,
drop.
mic drop,
That's
root
what therapy is.
unearthed.
Yeah. That therapy is to go from defended self to undefended love. Boom.
Is this our last podcast? We've just figured
We're
everything
done.
out.
We've
Yeah,
uncovered all
we've
the
done the
world's
work.
issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. We can now
Really.
retire on the surface. Well, you will.
Exactly.
I will not.
Really,
Uh,
I really do like that. From defended self to undefended love. love of self, love of other, love of partner, love of life. Wow. And that's a lot of work to go from A to B, isn't it? And
So,
and it is pretty cool that we can facilitate that work and invite the client into that work. And I guess to bring us full circle, our unconditional positive regard fuels that work is the sort of basis from which we're able to call attention to the defendant's self so as to enable them to access the undefended love. Whereas with if we don't call attention to the defended self and we just love everything that comes our way, we may not be able to take them from A to B.
mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it.
basically, and perhaps the therapist is the bridge, right, of
Yeah,
awareness. It's
yeah,
like going from that wall to the open field requires a bridge, and that is the role of therapy, right? That is where therapy functions best. It's like the vessel to that open field.
totally, totally.
So super
Awesome.
cool. Love our work.
That's what therapy is.
Yeah.
Now they know,
Yeah, now we
our
know. It
listeners.
might
Now
change
we
in a
know.
year.
Exactly. Exactly. Circle back with us in
Yeah,
365 days. All right.
exactly.
Well, that was fun as always. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Paula. Looking
love
forward to
chatting.
next week's conversation with you.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, everyone.